no saints drinking at the Vic Hotel. In 1965 when the miners arrived and Robin was as rough as hell. Black segregated, living on the old reserve. White single workers, that meant trouble for the local girls. In 67, they named them drinking rights, like the Bayari in headlights. The lost got blind and trouble turned to double strife. In 75, when the mines all thrived, there were no black jobs to fill. Between the welfare office and the police station was the Vic Hotel. But somewhere deep down in the dark there seems it's always dark for the light breaks in. Gonna lily, 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 rise. Relocated to the graveyard, the village was its name. Some drank to get the pride up, some drank to drown the shame. Some drank from the boredom, some drank from the abuse. If you couldn't be on country on any given day, then the Vic would cut you loose. It wasn't half bad when the jukebox played its tunes. Frankie Miller singing Darling would raise a riot in the room. But if he tapped you on the shoulder, you'd raise your fists and ring the bell. There's not a boy in Roban who didn't learn to fight at the Vic Hotel. But somewhere deep down in the dark there seems it's always dark for the light breaks in. Gonna lily, 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 rise. It's always darkest before the light breaks in. Always darkest before the light breaks in. Always darkest before the light breaks in. Bindiri baran, bindiri baran. Always darkest before the light breaks in. Always darkest before the light breaks in. Always darkest before the light breaks in. Bindiri baran, bindiri baran, bindiri baran, bindiri baran, bindiri baran, bindiri baran, bindiri baran. In 83 late September, 5 officers were blind. After drinking in Karatha, said boys, let's hit the Vic for night. Ran into Ashley James, a kid who wouldn't run. The barmaid heard one of them say, we'll get you, you black. When the brawl broke out, John Patty joined the fight. The police hit the boy so hard he died alone in his cell that night. The white jury let them off, the white law will never tell. The racist cops killed a 16-year-old boy at the Vic Hotel. But somewhere deep down in the dark there seems it's always dark for the light breaks in. Gonna lily, 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 rise. But then something happened in 2013. The Inja Bondi brought it back, said we'll make this a place of learning and a gathering of elders. The Vic Hotel was renamed Lynchie, said, how about Gonna Lily for the dawning of a new day, the dawning of a new day, the dawning of a new day. The Gonna Lily Center opened in 2019. Somewhere deep down in the dark there seems it's always dark for the light breaks in. Gonna lily, 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 rise. Gonna lily,
Good evening and welcome to this special Melbourne Symphony Orchestra event, live from the Iwaki Auditorium in Melbourne's South Bank. My name is Leila Gurruwiwi, but most people know me as Leila Gurruwiwi, and I am a proud Yolngu woman of the Gulpul clan from northeast Arnhem Land. And I would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nations, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. Tonight we are going behind the scenes of a new symphonic version of Spinifex Gum, bringing together the sound of Malia Choir, the music of Felix Riebel and Ollie McGill, and the choreography of Deborah Brown. Spinifex Gum has been inspiring audiences around Australia. This week they are joining forces with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra and members of the Melbourne Youth Orchestra for performances that will be part political and part aspirational, celebrating what can be achieved when we come together as one. And what a brilliant way to mark NAIDOC Week. Tonight's event is part of MSO's Music and Ideas series. Each of these events are designed to give you the opportunity to discover more about MSO's music from the world-class artists, producers and composers working on stage and behind the scenes at the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. Thank you to our presenting partner, Equity Trustees, and to the City of Melbourne for their support of tonight's event. Let's get started by talking to some of the brilliant young women that we've just heard, and let's give them another round of applause because that was amazing. So we're going to have a little chat to three of the young women up there. We've got Stephanie Paul, Ashley Ung and Grace Miller. So would you be able to join me over here, ladies? It's all right, find your place, it's okay. All right, what a wonderful song. Can one of you tell me a little bit about it, what it means?
Yes, so Gunnalili means dawning. It is, the song itself is a historical timeline that originates from the centre, which is now presently called the Gunnalili Centre, but was once called the Vic Hotel. So there were some, let's say, not happy things happening around that type of area, but the song, as it goes through, gradually brings in a new hope and a new sense of the place. So its renaming gives a new meaning, a new way of life, and something fresh and new that's different from its dark past.
Yeah, wonderful. And I actually noticed this during your rehearsals today, that you guys have some really wicked shoes, and I noticed that they were all individual. Could you tell me a little bit about your shoes? You guys painted them yourselves, is that right?
Yeah, we all painted our own shoes. We got given them like just a blank pair of shoes like before our performance and got the paint. We all did our own like bit of creativity and painted our own like individuality and like personality onto it, I guess. But yeah. Everyone's got their own unique pair, so it's very special for us.
And I think you're onto your second or third pair, is that right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry, my second pair now. Yeah.
No, that's wonderful. I think they're really, really cool. And how has being a part of Malia affected the rest of your life, your schooling, your social life, those sort of things?
I've been a part of choir for a really long time now, and I can't really imagine life without it. The connections and the people that I've met along the way. It's actually crazy to think about where I'd be if I didn't become part of the choir. And definitely my career, being immersed into singing songs about the issues and all of that we sing about has definitely led me down the career. I'm studying law, so yeah, it's Thank you.
No, that's great. That's great. And how has Spinifex Gum changed your own view of your cultural identity, of your cultural self? I know it's a big question.
In general, not just in Spinifex Gum, but also in our other choir, Gondwana, that we all sing about. Just in culture about itself, like both of these choirs have given me a new sense about culture through the songs we sing and the people that we interact with, particularly. Like we've got traditional elders such as the Injibati people who are here today with us. We've got other elders who are coming up down from the Torres Straits to teach us songs, just immerses not just myself but my fellow choristers and I in just who we are. Like some of us don't come particularly from country and we're just descendants of, and living in Cairns we're all quite very diverse. So to be part of Malia and to be part of Gondwana, it just gives us a grounding of our culture.
Wonderful. And what does it feel like when you perform?
Well, it's amazing because like not many people have this platform that we have to like share these stories and get these issues out, and like it's a performance. Like if it like you have to sit down and listen, like the audience has to listen. They don't really have a choice. But yeah. But yeah, it's amazing, and it's just so like you can feel what the audience is feeling. Like this, like in each individual song, like whether it's like Malia, like it's happy, or like one of the more serious songs, like yeah, it just feels amazing, I guess.
There's all sorts of emotions that happen, yeah. And of course, Spinifex Gum addresses a lot of heavy subjects. How do you feel about the pressure of speaking up against injustice? And do you feel like there's a lot of weight on your shoulders sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. The show does address some of those harsher topics like Indigenous deaths in custody, the stolen generation, all that nasty things. And to be honest, when you first start, as someone who joined it from a very, very, very young age, it is a bit of a whack in your face. It's like a wake-up call, like these things have happened and could be, possibly is, still happening in today's society, and it's really a big wake-up call. And then to be singing those songs to audiences and everybody's reaction going, oh, I really love what you did, that really speaks the truth and brings to a light all the nasty, horrible things, not just that had happened, but is still happening today. And it is very important that we address those issues as much as it is somewhat just important as climate change. Probably not as important as climate change, but it's still up there, like top 5.
Yeah.
Yes. But doing it through something that we love, through music and through performing, is just even better, because we're doing it at something that we're good at.
Yeah, so, yeah. That's right, and truth-telling, yes. And truth-telling is such an important part of, reconciliation in us as, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and non-Indigenous people moving forward. And of course, our newly elected Prime Minister did talk about the Statement of the Heart as well, the Uluru Statement of the Heart, and there's a big part in there about the importance of truth-telling when it comes to all our history. And some of it's, not comfortable, and it is, can be bad in parts, but, we have amazing culture and history on top of that as well, 60,000 years worth actually. So before being part of this show, I know you answered a little bit just before Ashley, but for the other girls, other young women here, were you aware of the issues, or did it really open up your eyes more?
I think a lot of us were aware of the particular issues, but I'm definitely still amazed by the amount that it still happens, and recent events too. And it shouldn't be happening anymore, but it is. So it's just amazing to have the platform to be able to share that and to be able to show people that it is still happening, because that's something that I didn't realise as much as I do now going into it, the amount that it is still occurring. So it's nice to be able to share that as well, and to be a part of a group that has such an amazing platform, and to be able to share those stories in a way that's received well, by large audiences. Everyone likes music, it's getting a message across in a not so harsh confrontational way, but it's still shared and well received by people who come and see us. Yeah.
Yep. And there is so much attitude in Spinifex Gum. It's bold and it's direct. Does this affect your life off the stage at all?
We can all just...
Yeah.
Not really.
That's okay.
No, anyway. Sorry, it was a joke for the people who know me and they're just sitting over there laughing at me like, please. It's given me definitely a lot more confidence. Like, if you would have seen 12-year-old me, scared, short, walking into Mali rehearsals with big topics and then having to come on stage and sing it in front of you, it's not technically you, other people, but like coming in, it's just confidence. It has given me a lot of confidence. So I can just walk up onto stage for a music performance or for an English speech, for a drama act or play, and just perform. And it's something that I've grown to love more and more as I've gotten older. And I'm sure, Steph, with you and some of the older girls of Malia, that it can be something that we're needing and we're finding and that we're going to miss.
I'll just pitch in here. A lot of us now are very strong advocates for Indigenous rights, so yes, definitely being part of this has enforced that and given us the confidence to speak about it and share that even more, so yeah.
Strong black women, I love it. So thank you again for coming over and having a chat with me. So thank you again to Stephanie, Ashley and Grace for talking to us, and of course all of the young women of Spinifex Gum for that magnificent performance before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, MSO and Spinifex Gum is on stage for 2 performances only this Saturday, the 9th of July at Melbourne's Hamer Hall. This is an event not to be missed and tickets are selling fast, so please visit the website mso.com.au now to book. And in just a minute, we'll be hearing from the creative team of Spinifex Gum, but we also want to hear from you, so please put your comments and questions into the live chat on YouTube, and we'll be reading some of those a little bit later. Now we're going to hear from the creative team behind Spinifex Gum: Felix Riebel, Lynn Williams, Deborah Brown and Michael Woodley. Michael Woodley is the Executive Officer of the Ijimbadi, my apologies if I got that wrong, Aboriginal Corporation and the Julawalu Aboriginal Corporation, as well as being a law carrier, community leader and spokesperson. Deborah Brown is a choreographer, dancer, actor and director who has created works for a wide range of companies and festivals, including Bangarra Dance Theatre and Sydney Theatre Company, as well as working as an actor and assistant director with some of Australia's top screen directors. Felix Riebel is a singer-songwriter and composer based here in Melbourne. He is the co-founder, band leader and principal songwriter of the internationally acclaimed band The Cat Empire. And Lynn Williams, last but not least, is the founder and artistic director of the world-renowned Gondwana Choirs, a national choral organisation that puts a vocal power of young voices at the centre of an impressive and wide-reaching artistic program. So please welcome our guests to the stage. So thank you so much for joining me here tonight. And I just wanted to talk a little bit before we go any further about this beautiful artwork that's on the floor here. Would someone be able to talk me through this?
Yes, I can. The person responsible for that actually just left the room.
Yeah.
But, so I'll try and give it some justice.
Yeah.
It's a painting that was created by the Yolngu ladies, elders, back home from where I come from, in the Pilbara, a town called Roban, where the Yolngu people now reside. So the elders have, you hear me yet? So the elders have created this artwork, and it's about our country. It's about where the Yiddish country starts and where it meets up with our other neighbouring groups and language groups. And it incorporates our song lines, it incorporates our environment, the water, the rivers, and the stories and the dreaming of the Yiddish people.
It's a beautiful piece, and I love the fact that you can walk on it, like walking on country. I think that's beautiful. And Michael, this question's also for you, but as well. Spinifex Gum is such an amazing collaborative effort. How did it all come about? That guy over there.
The guy to the right, yep.
Yes. So yes, tell us about it, both of you.
I can speak to the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Michael's a huge part of it, so I'll let him take over from there.
Sure.
I went to Roban for the first time in, I think, 2014, around that time, so the project's been going for a while now. And I saw the Gondwana Indigenous Children's Choir perform there as part of the Red Earth Festival, I think. And I was amazed and blown away by them. And on that same trip, and I've been returning there for a good 7 years now, was very captivated by the area. And as part of that, it was a very slow process. I was interested in writing a song for that choir. And little did I know it would turn into 3 albums and all of the shows we've done and everything. But really, at first I wasn't sure if I would write anything. I was interested in the politics of the place. I was captivated by the landscape. And one very, very fortunate day, I walked into a space where the Yindjibarndi people are gathering and doing a lot of their business from, and I've made an instant friendship with Michael, who's the head of a great leader in the Yindjibarndi community and a great man in broader Australia as well, I'd say. And we connected on music and we connected on a lot of things, and for me that was really the entry into a project that became much more than a few songs, and I studied the Juluwalu text very, very well after that. We formed a friendship, and I was able to, I feel, write music as a non-Indigenous person, respectfully, using my skills and my position as a non-Indigenous person through this great friendship, really. And I'll pass it over to you, Michael, to follow up on what you've been involved in the project.
No, thanks, Felix. It's been a real privilege, really, in meeting up with Felix and first and foremost building that relationship. Because we kind of similar had the same ideas in terms of songs and the power of music, bringing everyone together, whether it's contemporary music or songs that that we perform from a cultural point of view, right? But we also shared certain other interests as well, to do things with that relates and touch upon all of the social issues as well, and some of the cultural challenges, and how this nation, as in some parts of our upbringing, anyways, seem to be sort of drifting apart from what really sort of keeps us together, which is everyone's culture, everyone's story, everyone's involvement, and what we bring to the next generation of the sharing and caring. So the truth telling exercise is about really, first and foremost, acknowledging, I think, that there is a past and a history, but moving forward is about us working together and not laying any blame onto anyone. So that's where we share our interests as well. But music was our first interest, and I didn't know Felix, and I kind of apologized to him as well later. I had to Google him, right? So I'm a country boy. I'm a country boy that listens to country music.
Same with
exactly, yeah. So exactly, Frankie Miller. When he came to me and said, "Look, I'm the leader of a band called Cat Empire." I thought, okay, no problem. The only cat I know is Stevens, right? So it, again, a big learning curve for me as well. But we formed a relationship now for 8 years, and we continue to stay in touch, and I'm just excited about the work that he does and incorporating the Yiddish stories and history into these performances, and the young girl does a fantastic job with it. Obviously accompanied by these two ladies, and so look, I'm just privileged to be a part of it.
Yeah, wonderful. And Lynn, this choir of remarkable young women has such a distinctive sound and performance style. How was that developed?
It all grew out of, as I think Ashley mentioned, the Gondwana Indigenous Children's Choir, or was it Steph, I'm not sure, and they all, so we've been working together for 10 years now, and singing sort of lots of songs in language, and it's so important to them, always has been. And I'm not sure what creates the sound, but I think their very strong bond in that they work together so closely, and they artistically and creatively work together closely, that this very particular sound has developed over the time, which is really very, very distinct. And it's certainly on Saturday, for those of you that come to the performance, and I hope you do, you'll hear Malia, but there's also Gondwana Voices, which is our national children's choir. They're sitting up there as well. And they also have a fabulous sound, but it's very different, and that's a really great thing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course they're up there. Hi guys. And
our other Malia members, the younger ones, they weren't allowed to perform because of employment rules. There they are. Yes.
I think
our little sisters are sitting up there.
I think I heard them whipping before, and there was a few screams and stuff coming from that corner.
That'd be them.
It's lovely to have them, for sure, definitely. And Deborah, Spinifex Gum has performed all over Australia for several years, but what is different about their performances?
Oh, I think first and foremost is audience response, or even just architecture. So a theatre compared to doing an outdoor festival, of course, allows an audience to respond in different ways, and that exchange of energy between singers between the girls and audience is, I think always shifts each performance to have its own kind of identity and own kind of energy. I think one of the biggest highlights was, and the girls, you probably agree with me, was Gama, because again, that festival too had this collective, diverse group of people come together. And I remember as soon as they started their set, I was out the front, and I just felt a wave of people, literally a wave of people come forward and rush to the stage. And then it was on between audience and Malia. So I think that's the big difference between each performance. I think also growth. You know, when I first worked with the girls, they were very shy, they're very timid with me. Auntie Deb just came in and started, getting them to do all these kind of goofy, like, acting exercises and dance exercises, and they were just looking at me like, what are you asking me to do? You asking me to move across the room really slow, like I'm in honey? What? But I think that kind of, I guess that development and that engagement between voice and body certainly has grown as well. So then you see that with each performance compared to the very first time that they performed together in front of a live audience to where they're at now. It's phenomenal, and I'm just always proud. I am literally a proud auntie. I feel like I'm this proud auntie with them every time I see them. And then, like, their self-determination that happens in rehearsals and in the studio, and then when they go on tour and on the road, and how they look after one another as well. Like, that informs their performances too. So it doesn't just start once they've got the mics in hands. It's starting from when they're meeting at the airport and checking in and on the flights. And that connection, that's because truth-telling's been mentioned a couple of times already tonight. And that starts from somewhere. And it's that kind of bond for years experience.
Can I jump in also? I think something which it's the unexpected nature of this collaboration between an incredible dancer, choreographer, all the things that you do, Felix and his musical background, and these choirs which were essentially what you might imagine as classical choirs to begin with, and so unexpected and unusual, and we've come together and it's just become this magical thing by these really disparate groups coming together. I think that's what's sort of something magical about it, that it's the unexpected which sort of coalesces into something remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can definitely see that on stage as well. Did you want to say something, Felix?
Oh, absolutely. There are just those rare projects in life where you feel like you're led by them, as opposed to you. I mean, I feel like I get more credit than I deserve sometimes with this project, because really, without what Deb does and without what Lynn does and without what Michael's brought to me in these things, then it doesn't exist. And then the stars of the show are Marley, really, and their collective voice is very unique. And occasionally, like I said before, it starts as one song, has become, you know, these phenomenal performances around the country. And I think, is Annika up there? I think her first show ever is performing with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, on Saturday.
You know, and all of these other singers. It's kind of amazing that it happens like that. But sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you're led in life by something very special, as opposed to really being able to take too much credit for it. And like Lynn said, we've been very, very blessed, very fortunate in this one, and it's taken us all by surprise, and we can treat it like a project of a lifetime and ride it as long as we can.
Yeah, wonderful. And it's an amazing opportunity to be able to collaborate alongside the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. How did that collaboration come about?
I feel like I've got no, a lot of things I can take credit for in terms of, you know, like Blues Fest, WOMAD, these are all connections from my world, you know, and those were conversations that I could have, and there was a lot of hustle involved for me to get those sorts of shows, but the idea to perform with an orchestra wasn't mine, and so maybe Lynn, you could speak to that, or...
Well, I've certainly been dreaming about it, because, you know, that's my background, the whole orchestral thing and everything, and I had been thinking of it, but then John Nolan from the MSO, he dreamt it up as well, and so that's how it all...
Great minds.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's how it all started. It was sort of a... and it seems... I still don't know how it's going to sound. It'll sound amazing, but, you know, treat in store.
Yes, it's going to be so good. I'm so looking forward to being able to go, and you guys should buy your tickets, like I said before, mso.com.au, so that you can come along. And Lynn, for an audience member who has never seen Spinifex Gum before, what should they expect?
You mean on Saturday as opposed to all our other shows?
I think for people that haven't seen them before, it might be their first outing to see. Of course, they had a little bit of a...
Yeah, a little bit of a taster.
Taste tonight, yes.
Okay, so there's such a broad range of songs. There's those truth-telling songs, but there are also lots of songs about, you know, the power of sort of sisterhood and friendship and working together for things. So there's moments of great joy, sadness, sort of anger. It just takes through this whole gamut, and it's got this great architecture as devised by Felix. But I think it's just going to be overwhelming, because we've had this show, and normally you would have, there's a big sort of a whole film element, but a full symphony orchestra, the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra no less,
yes.
And then all of Gondwana voices as well. I don't know, I think it could be quite special.
Yeah, and it's going to be, with the exception of seeing the two amazing songs tonight, and I got to hear them during rehearsal as well. It'll be my first time seeing the young women in a performance, and you know how special with the Melbourne Symphony, and as well as the Gondwana choir as well. It's going to be really, really, really exciting. But I think we have a little snippet of a video that we're going to have a look at as well.
We have a painting that we walk over that was gifted to us by the Yinjibarndi community. They want us to walk over that country before we go on stage.
That's probably the main ritual that we do without fail every show now. Helps us feel really connected to the stories that we're going to be sharing.
You know, we're lucky to all be together on this gig. Think about, you know, the sisterhood or the genderhood, you know, like this beautiful painting. That's what helps me get rid of my nerves. I know our mob's listening, yeah.
As they walk over that painting onto the stage, into those lights, whatever happens, it's profound. They go from being very colourful and easygoing and quite relaxed to all of a sudden becoming kind of warrior-like and really focused and very powerful.
Something sick like Spinifex Gum, like ants on honey, like money on stone. And the rich gone digging down to kingdom come, and the double economy favors one, and the sum's so high that below's just crumbs. Something sick like Spinifex Gum.
When I write music for this choir, I think of those many voices becoming one. Some songs are really heavy protest songs. Some songs are just celebrating youth and the joy of singing.
It's an honour to be able to share the stories that have been passed on to us and be able to pass them on to everyone in the audience. A lot of people are hearing these stories for the first time, so yeah, really important.
Something stick like Spinifex Gum.
So yes, that's just a small snippet of what they could be seeing on Saturday.
Yeah.
Should we flog the sound guy? Or what?
Yes, there was issues with sound, but you know these things happen, especially in the live space. But you could see the imagery, and you talked a little bit about the film, like the film kind of side of it, and you could see a little bit of that going on as well. And Emma Donovan, I saw her on there with her two little girls, and must have been lovely having her, you know, working with the young women as well. But Deborah. Pardon?
She'll be there.
She'll be there?
Yep, she's performing.
Brings an enormously beautiful energy into it. Like, that woman can sing, and and she's so good with the girls as well. Like,
And of course, Deborah, your work with Bangarra Dance Theatre has explored their relationship to country, but the choreography of Spinifex Gum is so different to a work like Terrain, for example. But are there common elements? What was the experience like for you to, you know, get these young singers using their bodies and moving and dancing?
The big thing, particularly what I learnt through Bangarra, is where you're sourcing your movement from. So I guess there's a lot of grooving that happens that would be typically happening with choirs, and it's just a kind of, I guess, response to what Felix has written and what Ollie has composed, what they've done together. So there's that kind of, just an instinct response. But what the big drive is, and I think what I have a lot to owe to Bangarra, is intention and where you're drawing from and where you're sourcing a lot of that from. So when we're rehearsing, I guess when we're revisiting the show after, you know, months of not touching it, it's always bringing back intention, and it's always bringing back connection. And as we've talked about, we're covering social issues, we're covering sisterhood, and we're covering connection to country and connection to land. And that's really important. So it's always got to come from the ground up. Even though, say, if you look at Bangarra choreography and how grounded and how low we get, a lot of that movement you wouldn't be able to sing with. So you've got to still help, you know, the vocals. You've got to honour that, and you've got to honour the words. But the idea is that it still comes from the ground up, because that's your first and foremost connection to country. Tread lightly, and where are you drawing it from? So I think that's the big thing that the two, like my experience with Bangarra and my experience here at Spinifex Gum share, is connection, and always having the right intention and always being honest with that.
And that why is so important. You know, like you were talking about that intention. Why are we doing this?
That's right.
It's very, very important. And and Felix, Spinifex Gum represents a strong departure from some of your work with the Cat Empire. I grew up listening to the Cat Empire myself. What drove you to such a radical shift?
Probably first thing that drove me was, or two things actually. One was the sound of the choir, those young voices. They could sing in a way. When I first heard them, it was after a performance actually. They'd done a great show. And then they put on like some pop track afterwards in the change, you know, in the dressing room kind of thing. And they could syncopate really well, and they were dancing and singing in this way that was actually like my, you know, much closer, much more complicated, sassy, punchy, powerful, you know, singing techniques. And I hadn't heard a choir sing like that before. It's funny that it happened backstage, not on stage. And then I thought, oh, that's something we could do. And then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be interesting to, and this is funny because I think Lynn was involved in actually putting together the first Qantas choir, but I thought like, oh, wouldn't it be great to actually invert the cliche of the Qantas choir and put, you know, like give them all individual mics and make a choir sound, not like something that was something that wasn't polite, you know, something that a choir that would hit you in the face, but could also sing with great quality. And one thing I love and really connected with Lynn on was that she works with young people and she sets the bar very, very high. She expects them to sing like professionals, and they do, because she doesn't treat them like kids. And that's very, very close to my musical taste. It's something I respected enormously. I thought, oh, we can work with something here. So the first point was the choir sounded great, and I thought we could work with them and give them all mics and write music that wasn't normal choral music, inverted commas kind of thing. And the other thing was that Ollie and I discovered, at first, you know, the first few years, you know, I spent in the Pilbara returning there. I mean, I wasn't there non-stop, but I just went around with a field recorder, because again, it took me a long time to even think that it would be right to write anything about that. And I was just interested in the area. And the Pilbara is a very interesting place because you have these extraordinary landscapes, and then you have these iron ore trains and this industry cutting across these landscapes. And I thought that was a real polar, you know, these two worlds, you know, one ancient world with a kind of a boundless, you know, horizon, and one that was very metric, very Western, very you know, very business oriented, I suppose, that cut through it. And then you get these collisions. And then I discovered the Julie text and just became fascinated with the Pilbara. And then, like I said before, met Michael, and that friendship started and started to write songs. And so just I know I'm taking a while here, but with all of those field recordings that I made, you know, the first sound in Spinifex Gum is a hollow iron ore train, an empty iron ore train going back, I think, up to Tom Price, you know, to fill up with iron ore again. And it makes this really kind of whistling, kind of metallic whistling sound. And so Ollie and I thought, oh, why don't we take that sound from the field recorder and put it into a synthesizer, you know, and manipulate that sound and tune it to different notes. And so you get that that's an iron ore train. And then, you know, we'd listen through the field recordings. It's amazing when you listen to things as opposed to watch video, how much you remember listening. I was always fascinated by that. And then, so the bass drum, I think, is like a basketball hitting a backboard, that we were walking through Roban and some kids were playing basketball and throwing it at the backboard. And then we tuned that basketball down, and that became a bass drum. And then I think me kicking dirt, or the sound of a shoe kicking dirt, became the snare drum in that song. And so we found this way of like, okay, the rhythm tracks in this project are going to be of the place. Now, we also took that to Far North Queensland, and we tuned a cicada, you know, we slowed it down, and it makes a great bass sound, for example. You know, you'd be kind of amazed once you start getting obsessional about sounds, how you can find something interesting. So I guess my point is, we found this really interesting way of finding percussive and synthetic things that came from the place, and we had this fantastic young group of choristers to work with, and I kind of want to pass it to Michael here. We had this extraordinary research and I guess cultural diligence done by the Julie group, who had made these fantastic books, and they had that was my introduction to Yinjibundi language. It was my introduction to the landscape, and through those I found access to stories, not cultural stories necessarily, but stories that were in a contemporary enough place that I felt I could write about, and then you know, wrote some ideas and wrote some songs, and then met Michael, and he encouraged me to go further. And so it was through that research that there was a world created for Spinifex Gum to exist. It's not an elevator conversation.
No, definitely
Sorry, so,
not.
so
This
maybe
is
I'll-
definitely
yeah.
not an elevator pitch, that's for sure.
It's a lot to unpack, and that's why the project is sophisticated and
yeah,
fun
that's
as well.
right.
You know, it's because it can't
Exactly.
be explained that easily.
No,
You know.
and it's such a long process, but I love the idea of, you know, getting sounds off country and sounds from community as well, and being able to incorporate them into the show.
Yeah, and I should also say it sounds from the minds too. You know, like I sort of made it it started from the point of like, let's just talk about musical being in awe of something, you know, like sounds that really capture your imagination, and that involved going into the minds, and the minds are great percussively, you know, they're great for musical things. We found a lot there, and so in some ways it didn't start from a place of saying, oh, we're coming in this waving a flag, or we're coming at this with a certain perspective. It really came from a position of musical interest and musical wonder kind of thing, and that came from both sides. And I'd also say, lastly, and then I'll shut up, I really mean it. It's like, I'm like you, Mike, almost. I know. But even how people have been talking about political songs and social songs and things like that, yes, the project has gone there because it led us there, but it didn't start as an intent to say this is what we're going to do. It started as an intent to make beautiful music with beautiful people, you know, really, just extraordinary voices, and a blessing to be able to work with them. And then it had to be, we're going to make really world-class professional music, and young people are going to sing it, and Lynn's going to do that, and Deb's going to lift them to a level so that their words are matched by movement, and it has to start from that place of beauty. And then after that, the politics and the social issues and all of the things that people can talk about come in, but not beforehand. The song has to be good. The music has to be beautiful before anyone's moved, and that's why people are moved by this show. It's not because it waves a flag, it doesn't. People are left with a sense of all sorts of feelings, but I think it's joy, actually, that they leave with, even though they've had to confront things that they would otherwise not. And that's because we set the bar high musically, and it's been a project of beauty for me, really.
Yeah, of course.
Speaking of like beauty and sound, like it's language as well, and that's what's beautiful about this, because there's about 4 different languages that get sung in this. A big one is Yinjibani language, which is so beautiful, and I always want to say thanks to Michael for sharing, because like being in rehearsals and getting to listen to that, I think all of Australia needs to hear Indigenous languages more, because it's the way it resonates, its sound, where it sits in mouths, is a sensuality and just something that's really beautiful orally. That's for me as a sort of dancer that listens to music. And when I listen to language, you know, it sort of hits somewhere, you know, it hits somewhere deep, yeah. So the fact that, you know, you've got a diverse group of girls based in Cairns singing Yinjibani, and then at some point they switch into Kalalagauya when we do Island Home, which is the Torres Strait, which is one of the Torres Strait tongues. And then Emma comes out, and then she'll sometimes sing Yolngu, and then we've got English. So that's 4 different language groups, and it's so beautiful. And even that sound is just another great kind of experience and shift for audiences, I think, to sit with as well. And for me, it's just a blessing to choreograph to, or not choreograph to, because sometimes in language, you just want to sit there, like I'll not put any movement to it because that's enough. We need to just let that wash over us and absorb it. Yeah, and sit with it, yeah.
No, that's wonderful. And Michael, there's been such an amazing process of sharing your stories in your community, you know, with the Spinifex Gum. What does it mean to yourself and the community to be able to have your stories, you know, in this kind of space shared with everyone like this?
No, we're just blown away with it, to tell you the truth. Because when he first came in and said that we would like to take some of our stories and songs and take some of your stories and your language and put it into songs. So I thought, okay, well, look, you know, no one done it before. Knock yourself out, right? And we'll see how it turns out. But we heard it, and then we thought, oh boy, it's fantastic. It just blew us away, right? So we had the first concert that we were invited to in Sydney in 2000
at the Opera House.
At the Opera House, yeah, in 2000 what was it?
18,
yeah. Yeah, 17, yep. And we brought some elders with us as well. We didn't tell them at all what was going to happen. So we just took them in there and said, look, we got the choir and Felix wrote some songs in Ijibandi and that's all we told them. We didn't say they were singing in Ijibandi or anything like that. So we brought them in and they sat down and they started listening to the songs and they started listening to, the young girls started, singing these songs in Ijibandi and it emotionally hit them, all of them. They got very emotional about it and, started to have tears in their eyes and all this sort of stuff, but we're quite, we're quite privileged, I suppose, to be on this journey in terms of what these guys have put together. And we continue to sort of, feel privileged about it. So, I mean, our language is only spoken back home, and to each other. So Ijibandi speak to Ijibandi about our language, and our neighbors are Ngaruma, which is our other language groups, Koroma, Panjama, Niabali, Maradoni, and so on and so forth, right? But they speak their own language as well. We speak a little of their language, speak a little bit of our language as well, but those languages are only spoken at home. So it's not taken on any type of contemporary sort of a journey, right? In the way that what Felix has and the Spinifex Gum and the Malay choir have done with this performance. So it's a privilege that we are thankful for, because it continues to put Aboriginal culture out on the mainstream, I suppose, and we get to share with a lot of other people who never heard language before or haven't sort of had interaction with First Nations people or anything like that, right? So again, it's an education process, and we're so privileged to be a part of it.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca, Lynn, Michael and Felix, for that amazing conversation. And I've been lucky in my other life, when I was doing the Margaret Footy show years ago now, to be able to travel all across Australia and go on all sorts of beautiful, amazing country. But I've never been up to Roebourne or up to Western Australia, so I'd love to be able to come up there one day for a visit.
Don't drink the water, you'll never leave, right?
But yes, I would love to come up. But of course, it is now time to get some audience questions from not only our audience here in the Iwaki Auditorium, but also online. So let's bring back the women of Malia Choir so we can also ask them some questions if we have any. And I think we've got a few.
From the online audience.
From the online audience. And please feel free, if anyone has any questions in the audience, to also ask. So the first question we have is, how will performing with the MSO change the show? Lynn, maybe you can answer that question?
I think the truth will be revealed on Saturday because none of us really know how it's all going to fit together. I think it'll really elevate it to a whole new zone and give it a whole new perspective and everything. I think it'll be amazing, but we'll all find out, won't we?
Yes, no, definitely. And do you think Malia could become the new Qantas choir?
Oh, I don't... I think probably best left alone. They're two completely different things.
Yes,
so,
of course.
Yeah,
so, no, that completely...
with different purposes and all fabulous in their own way.
That's right. Exactly. No, I just want to qualify that as well. It's not like I just wanted to make sure that Lynn didn't think I had anything against Qantas choir. I don't at all. Only that choirs have a certain immediate knee-jerk reputation in Australia, maybe across the world, that choirs are expected to be in a certain sort of way. And when Ollie got together, our brief was like, how do we turn this on its head? We used... that as an idea, and that was kind of fun. I'd love to see Malia do something like that. We'll have to wait and see, though.
Maybe something in the future. Who knows? Who knows? What role do the women of Malia play in deciding what stories are told and what issues to explore? Does one of you want to answer that? So how much are you guys a part of the process? Choosing stories, what issues to sing about?
Yeah, go George. Yep.
Well, some of us older girls, me and Kim and Laura, we've been working with Felix on a new song about the Jukin Gorge sacred site, which was recently destroyed by a mining company. So yeah, as we've gotten older, we're having more input into the music side. So yeah.
Yeah. So you're a big part of it, especially when you're getting older and learning more about the issues that are happening, like we talked about before as well.
I would just say the project probably started out, like I said before, and maybe Michael can speak to this too, the Juluwalu books that were published, if people travel to Roban or travel to Pilbara, then those are widely available and extremely well researched and interesting to explore, and those created the foundation for largely for the first album, with stories that were researched around that. And I think as the project's gone along and the singers have grown up, you know, they were 12 years old, some of them, when I first met them, and they're finished school and studying law now, you know, like that sort of thing, or all sorts of other things. But and so the songwriting process and the project itself has kind of changed. It started out as a focused study, you know, largely me studying these books and writing a whole range of songs based on that, you know. And I should also say, a lot of that, you know, Michael and my relationship has grown insofar as at the beginning it was me asking permission to essentially tell stories that I'd read, you know, in the Juluwalu text, and more recently Michael really is a co-songwriter with me in a lot of songs. I say, I want this verse to be, or this middle bridge to be in Yinjibandi, can you write something back? Tell me what you think. Okay, he sends something back. I put it into a melody in bad Yinjibandi, and he laughs about it, and we figure out how the phrasing goes. And then that's how it works. And so there's songwriting together, and there's always a sort of a collaboration between those. So I would say it's growing, the project, you know, it's growing in terms of how the influences are working and how the girls are growing and how our relationship is.
Can I also say that in the early days especially, there's a lot of discussion with families,
Of course.
as to what was appropriate and what was so involving our community. We have such a fabulous community in Cairns, don't we? And a lot of discussions with parents and family, and that was a really important part. And as they've grown older, as we said, their input is absolutely crucial. Yeah.
Yep. We also have a question for the young women here. Spinifex Gum has clearly left a mark on your lives. How have you left a mark on the show?
I'm not going to lie, this is a very tough question.
It is. Sorry to put you on the spot.
I guess over the years, like from where it first started to where it is now, it's come a very, very long way. And not in terms of that we were really bad, in terms of like, it's just grown. We've gotten comfortable with how we like to run the show. We don't let the show run us. Like, we run our own world as brave, confident, independent, strong Indigenous women who are willing to tell their story and get up there and just rock the world. And there's, sometimes I wish there was fire behind us. You know?
Fire, wind machines, all the rain, all of it.
Dreamtime Institute. But yeah, I think as a collective, we're moving as one unit. One unit, the show, the songs, the stories, it just comes all together and we just boom in your face.
But
it's a phrase.
yeah. And Ash makes it sound like she's 25, but how old are you, Ashley?
I'm 16.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And for any young girl that's out there that's, you know, quite shy, that, you know, doesn't want to, you know, go out of their kind of comfort zone or their box, you know, or might want to, you know, try out dancing or singing or something like that, what would you say to that young girl that's sitting at home thinking about it but not quite sure if that's what they want to do?
Go for it.
Go for it.
If it makes you happy, just do it. Like,
I said to Auntie Deb the other day, we were just joking around about something, and when we don't have Briggs here, one of us jumps on and we go and rap the bit that he would say, or Senator Pat Dodson bit, we would go and make his statement. And I said to Auntie Deb that day, I was like, go for it. You only get an opportunity in once in a lifetime, and if that girl out there wants to do science, wants to do music, wants to dance, wants to sing, or girl, boy, whoever. It's really important to do what you love and to keep doing what you love. Someone once said to me that if you want to do a job, if you love it that much, you'd do it for free. So I'm sure we would all do it for free. We will be doing it for free, and we will be continuing to do it for free, because that's how much we love this, how much we love the show, how much we love singing, and how much we love the opportunity to be here.
Yes, getting quite passionate there. And did anyone have any questions in the audience by any chance before? I know we had a few from our YouTube people, but that's okay. You might have some questions that you might want to ask a little bit later. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming, and sadly that does bring us to the end of tonight's event, and thank you again to all of our lovely guests down here who have spoken today, Rebecca, Lynn, Michael and Felix. And remember, Spinifex Gum and MSO is on this Saturday, 9th of July at Hamer Hall in Melbourne, and I know that Ash did say that they would do it for free, but tickets are available for purchase from mso.com.au. A big thank you to our presenting partner, Equity Trustees, and to the City of Melbourne for their support of the Music and Ideas series. And a big thank you to all of our wonderful guests tonight again, Deborah Brown, Michael Woodley, Felix Riebel and Lynn Williams, as well as the remarkable women of Malia. And you guys are really, really lucky, because we have another special song for you guys and a final treat for you. So Malia Choir are going to perform the song Malia from Spinifex Gum. So thank you for joining us. My name is Leila Gurruwiwi. Happy NAIDOC week and good night.
Nothing is as sweet as you. Oh, nothing is as sweet as you, my friend. You're my hour when evening comes, when darkness falls on you, I can depend. When I'm sad, you cheer me up. When I'm cold, you find me up. When I fall, you pick me up. Oh, nothing is as sweet as you, my friend. What if I could make you sing? Oh, would we laugh and cry the whole night through? And after all the things we've done, oh, isn't it a bit like being true? When I'm glad you hear me shout. When I'm lost you find me out. I'm behind you, make me run. Oh, nothing is as sweet as you, my friend. You're my Malia, Malia, Malia. You're my Malia, you're my one. Malia, Malia, Malia. You're my one. Barking dogs where rivers stopped. A troubled wind is blowing through the trees. Broken thoughts like bottles dropped, but you appear and put my mind at ease. Oh, when I'm proud, you set me When you're sad, I'll cheer